Welcome to this edition of Trading Bits and Bytes. I'm Susan Littlefield. PJ Conrad joining us today from Trade House. A lot of things happening in the markets, but no surprise, weather is probably one of the top. Not only weather, but where we're sitting when it comes to exports and the market as a whole. And I think that's where we need to start out with because everybody is talking weather at this point.
It is, and what a difference 7 days make. 7 days ago, we kind of felt like this heat was going to really push us through, and we weren't going to have any rains coming. Then we had a lot of pop-up showers start coming up early to midweek, and you throw that heat on top of it, it really played out nicely. We'll see what that does to yield, but I think weather always dominates the subject in mid-July in Nebraska and across the Corn Belt. But most years, typically we're pollinating a lot more and a lot more critical stage, where this year maybe it pushed the crop along a little bit more. I'm not an agronomist, but it does seem like the corn looks a lot better from the road, and it has consistently for the last 2-3 weeks. And that's what trade's looking at. You can't throw yield in there today, but you can look at in an eye shot from the road. Things look a heck of a lot better, even if there is some low drowned out spots. And at this point, the rain, if it comes back, as long as you're not getting hammered with 7 to 10 inches at one crack, your low spots are probably drowned out anyway. So keep raining, that way we can maybe shut the irrigation off and have a good time.
Let's talk a little bit. We had two different reports that came out midweek. The first one from Pro Farmer is they kind of did some estimates of their own, and then we saw that one firm, I don't even know the firm's name, but they did the aerial photos going through. Let's talk about how those two affected the markets midweek.
That's what's crazy is, Wednesday morning, we were down about 5 or 6 in the overnights, and then somewhere between 6:45 and 7:45 that morning we were up 5, and actually opened the day up 6. And it seems like the market took the 7 to 8 million acres of prevent plant and the 1 to 2 of prevent plant on soybeans, as they kind of came out and said, to heart for about all of 10 minutes. And then we went back to trade and weather, which has been favorable. From what looked like a very threatening week, it has turned a very favorable week. They showed Iowa being very dry all week. Iowa, most of the entire state of Iowa got a good rain. And, northern Illinois may have missed out on some of that, and so some of their crops stressed. But anytime you see rain coming across the radar and you have heat in the forecast, it's hard for trade to really to take things higher. And a bull needs fed every day. So these bull markets, unless you're in a drought scenario where things get worse every single day, it's hard to keep feeding that bull every day. So I think you look at 93 and 95 and say we had sell-offs in mid-July those years, and we came back and rallying at harvest. So that's probably something to look forward to. Assuming things are as bad as what we hear and yield's not there, we could see a dramatic harvest rally. That the firm said about 155 or so, mid 150s. That really changes the game if you're at 86 million acres, 85 million acres, and you shave another 10 bushel off yield. Again, August 12th is going to solve all these problems when the USDA releases their next report, and I guess that's what trade's focusing on. But for today, we're happy it's raining and cool weather coming too.
Oh, definitely. We saw some pop-up showers. We know that South Dakota saw some, Minnesota, Wisconsin as well. So it just seems to be timely when it comes in. I haven't seen a lot. There's been pivots running, but nothing like we usually see the month of July.
No, really. It's like I was talking to somebody, it's like the last year we've been very lucky in some hands of the circumstance that we haven't had to run our irrigation much. And so usually guys are really sweating it out about right now. Not that guys aren't running stuff, but not in the mass ways we typically are for mid-July. And we started getting rains last year in mid-July. So, it seems like we went a while without really having to irrigate. And I had no knock on Iowa farmers. I was born there, but I did have a couple Nebraska farmers laugh and say, this must be what it's like to farm in the I-states.
There you go. Well, let's talk a little bit of South America, because at this point, and we talked about this yesterday during the Fontenelle Final Bell, this is usually the time where we just focus on South America, but we've got so much going on here in the States, we've kind of forgot to really mention crop and harvest for them.
Yeah, it's been really quiet down there, and I think a lot of it is the fact that the news is picking up on the most exciting thing to talk about right now, and that's prevent plant and that's yield. And the U.S. has such a big story and there's so much media coming at us anyways that South America is kind of forgotten about right now. That being said, we get another 2 weeks down the road, maybe you start hearing a lot more. It would be nice to hear more reports out of down there for sure.
I wanted to look at the cattle real quick before we wrap up. We, of course, have had the hot temperatures that you've talked about, going to continue through at least part of the weekend. Has the market at least noticed that at all from a feedlot perspective?
It's been pretty quiet. Really, the cattle market has been quiet for the last month or so, just kind of chopping in a range. We'll see what the cattle on feed report, the numbers actually produce for us. But, this hot weather is not good for gains. It's not good. Hopefully, we're not having any deaths out there, but definitely a possibility. So I guess moving forward, I think that's a story that maybe gets told next week too, as maybe we don't have some that are ready that should be.
All right, stuff to think about. Thanks so much. PJ Conrad joining us today. It is Trading Bits and Bytes. I'm Susan Littlefield.